I struggled with that a lot. I'm gonna stop straightening my hair. When I was skinny, you told me eat a burger. Now that I grew I gained a few pounds, you're like, oh my God. We go back to the concept of you're in survival mode in these countries. So you don't have time to do retrospection. We were moved from one building to another just in case a bomb would fall next to us. Heterosexual men fetishize us to sleep with us and be like, and then you have the Western feminists that are like, oh, we're here to save you. For me, the hard lesson was they don't like us.
Welcome to Yalla Habibti. My name is Sarah, and I've spent 30 years trying to figure out who could be my role model. Growing up, Arab and Middle Eastern women never had the chance to be represented to get some guidance. After growing up in Morocco and traveling and working all over the world, I realized how our communities were either marginalized, sexualized, or not represented at all. So if you're an ambitious woman, just like me, who wants to build a successful business or thrive in your career or even work on your personal growth and hear about passionate women just like yourself, this podcast is for you.
And I'm super honored to have today as a guest Youmna Al-Halabi, who is a content creator, also an author, and a woman that I admire a lot.
Thank you. I admire you too.
Well, thank you. But what I really most admire about you is that you have no fear of showing up as yourself, like your authentic self. And I really need you to help me with that.
That feels very... Thank you so much for saying that, because I feel very imposter syndrome. Like I have the imposter syndrome in me, because every time I feel like, am I being my true authentic self? I've been like this since I was 13, 14. But for me, it's very much fake it till you make it. But not in that sense, in the sense of like, there's something innate within me that I just, no matter how much I want to fit into anything, or how much I want to show up and be like, oh yeah, I'm here, like I'm a people pleaser, like I'm gonna make everybody feel comfortable. There's something innate within me ever since I was a teenager that's like, okay, but are you feeling comfortable though? Are you being yourself? Because every time I feel like something's fake, even if I do it, I'm kind of like, no, get out. But I struggled with that a lot throughout. I mean, I'm 26. I've just very much recently been like, you know what, I'm just going to show up as I am. I'm going to stop straightening my hair. I'm going to stop wearing minimalistic jewelry because it doesn't work on me, you know? I'm going to stop doing which I very much admire in everybody else. But for me, when I wear it, when I do stuff that doesn't feel authentically like me, I'm kind of like, nah. But trial and error.
But that's so crazy, because we were talking about this, by the way, before we recorded the podcast, and you were saying that, oh, today my hair looks puffy, stuff like that. And that's really that really hit me, because as an Arab or Lebanese woman, as yourself, we grew up with the fact that we have to straighten our hair, we have to look perfect, and we have this vision of the perfect Arab / Middle Eastern woman which is, by the way, like totally
made up. Where did that come from?
Who did that? Like, honestly. And that really hit me when I saw your profile, and I followed you for like years now. Yeah. And that really like what stood out for me. It's that you don't give fucks, like you're like I don't care. But how did you manage to do that?
Thank you so much for saying that, by the way, because for me it's also because ironically, when I moved to Montreal, because I grew up in Lebanon for 18 years. I go back and forth very often, but my young adult / adult life happened in Montreal. And I will say, moving here and seeing kind of like, because back in Lebanon, I very much idolized the Western archetype, because we
have this in common.
Right? So like you grow up and you're thinking like, oh, like, I remember seeing like those red cups and being like, oh, people really drink from this? And then I come here and I'm like, oh, it exists. I very much had a very like immigrant experience. Like I saw skateboards, I was like, oh my God, they really do exist. So I idolized that archetype a lot. But throughout the years that I grew up here, I kind of started having friends from all over the world. You know,
Okay.
I've had Arab friends, I've had Latino friends, I've had people from a Canadian background, Quebecois background. And I sort of started feeling like, okay, so I'm trying to fit in with them, but that's not really how I am. And also, I started missing home more. I started feeling like, oh, well, okay, like the red solo cups are cute, the skate parks are cute, but
Yeah.
I miss Arabic music. I miss hearing Arabic on the street. I mean, you still hear Arabic on the street.
Yeah.
We're everywhere, you know.
That's true.
I mean, you hear Algerian, here you hear Moroccan, here you hear Lebanese and Adonese, like it's everywhere. So, but I started feeling like, oh no, you know, I kind of miss my people a little bit, and not only my people, my country. So, I think about 4 years ago, I started feeling like, okay, no, like I'm going to get closer to my culture because it doesn't look like I'm going back to Lebanon anytime soon, or if I'm ever going to go back. And I wanted to feel closer to that. So I started wearing my hair in a curly way, which is funny because most Lebanese women will fry their hair. But I started being like, no, like I want my hair curly. I started being like, okay, so people like minimalistic makeup, but I mean, we wear kahel ever since we're like 12. So no, I'm gonna wear kahel again. For the English speakers,
Yeah.
it's called KOHL, but it's kahel.
Yeah.
Like it's
The black
kahel.
thing that you put under your eyes, by the way.
Yes, that thing.
But that, like, I see myself in you
Yeah.
because you know, I for myself grew up in Morocco, and then
Yeah.
I moved at 18 to many countries. And the thing is that when I was in Morocco, I didn't realize the chance that I had to, you know, be surrounded by the culture, the food, the people.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because when, like you said, when we grew up there, we fantasize over, you know, like my biggest crush in high school was like the blonde guy with blue eyes. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so for you, when was the time that you said like, okay, no, this is not who I am. This is not what my culture looks like.
Yeah.
And when did you really, like, was it a date, like a specific date, or did you just went with the flow and were like, okay, no, you know what? I'm going to own it.
Yeah. Ironically, it happened when I started having Latino friends.
Okay.
Because for some reason, if anybody has Latino friends, I mean, maybe you'll identify with that, but they're so attached to their culture. Like, they see a Latin person, a Latino person, Hispanic person around them, and they'll start immediately going into their mother tongue. We don't really do that sometimes. We like, I don't want to generalize. Some people are going to be like, no, I've seen other Latinos do something like that, or no, I've seen Arabs be very proud of that culture. But I'm talking about my personal experience. I've seen Lebanese people specifically being like, sorry, I haven't had breakfast. I've seen Lebanese people specifically really try to make the Western person comfortable if they're in a setting, you know?
Yeah.
And it's very important to make them feel comfortable. Of course, like if you're in a setting where, I mean, I will say this is a dig at my Brazilian friends. Every time I'm at a barbecue, they go into Portuguese and I'm like, okay, like, what? But it's also something very wholesome because they don't realize that they're doing it, because immediately if they see somebody from their homeland, they're going to go into the mother tongue.
Yeah.
Whereas a Lebanese person will mostly go start speaking the language of the Westerner. Again, yes, you're making them feel very comfortable, but it's not only the language. You'll start applying, be like, oh, I do this, I do that. It's like, yes, absolutely. But when I saw how Latinos are very, like, they're going to be attached to their culture. They're going to listen to, like, if you're Colombian, Carlos Vives in the morning. Like, if you're Brazilian, you're going to listen to funk at some point, or bossa nova. Like, so when I saw just how attached they were to their culture, they were putting their flags up in their room. I was like, why aren't I like that? Like, what happened for me to be like, why am I not so proud? And then I met Palestinian people.
Okay.
And Palestinians, for very obvious reasons, are very proud of their culture. They're very like, I have a Palestinian flag in my bag. Like, it's very much that. And I was like, so I started having, if we were going to go for dates, maybe around 2018, 2018, very much that kind of was very transformative for me. Because I was thinking like, why, okay, do you not like your country? Because I had to go into like, what is it that you don't like? And I was like, well, the people and the judgment. And I'm like, okay, but do the people make the culture? And sometimes, yeah. But I'm like, okay, but the beauty of you immigrating is that you nitpick what you want to take from the culture. So I was like, okay, we're going to start bit by bit. And that's when I stopped straightening my hair that often. That's when I stopped hating my curls. That's when I stopped being like, no, I want a big, bold makeup. This is what I like to wear. I want Arabic writing. I want the Lebanese flag on my wall. So I will say that's like very ironically that Latinos made me like my Arab culture. So shout out to Latinos.
If you guys are listening,
yeah, exactly.
You have a big fan over here.
Yeah.
But you know, that's I just go back to something that you said earlier about the fact that, you know, it's I lost my thought here. Jesus.
The food, the drink, 2018.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that you have to choose, you get to choose what you like about your culture and what you don't like about it since you immigrated here in Canada. And for me, it was the same conclusion because, you know, back there in Morocco, obviously for obvious reasons, you cannot dress the way you want, you cannot, you know, party, stuff like that. And when I arrived here in Montreal, I discovered this freedom, you know. It's like, for me, it really hits me. It was like the word freedom. And so for you, when you go back to Lebanon, for example, do you feel like you have an kind of an identity crisis? Because
100%.
Okay. I'm so curious to learn about that because for me, I feel like the personality that I have here is so different from the one that I have back in Morocco.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you because I try very much to not change, but you code switch. It's inevitable. And the thing is, I don't, because you see me here, the difference in how I look is just like my facial features or the color of my skin and my hair. But
everything.
Exactly, everything. But other than that, like, I'm covered in tattoos, but everybody here is covered in tattoos. I have a nose ring. Everyone has a nose ring. So this doesn't really set me apart from the culture here and from the people here. Whereas when I go back to Lebanon, if I wear, like, I made a joke last year because I went back and I was like, I very much appreciate being like people commenting on my tattoos instead of my weight for one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no,
I feel that.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, because in 2020, I went back and, you know, 2020, it was quarantine. All we did was drink and eat. So I gained a few pounds and I didn't really see it until I went to Lebanon because everybody was commenting. And
the aunties.
My God, they don't leave you alone. Your parents even.
Yeah.
And I grew up on a skinnier side. So me gaining all this weight, they were like, what happened? And I'm like, well, when I was skinny, you told me eat a burger. Now that I grew a few, like I gained a few pounds, you're like, oh my God. But that's another, like, I digress. But when I go back to Lebanon, it's very much, luckily I have friends that don't really, like, they go with the flow with me. I don't really feel like I'm switching with them, except for, like, I'm more politically correct here, whereas if you're politically correct in Lebanon, they make fun of you.
Really?
It's sad a little bit.
Why?
Because they're like, oh, it's not that serious. Like, you're so serious about language. And it's like, yeah, it matters though, you know? So sometimes I find myself code switching, but I kind of have to, like, give myself a mental, like, nah, man, you grew, keep growing.
Yeah.
But I do have a bit of an identity crisis because there are certain things in Lebanon that I do that if I do here, I wouldn't say they're not accepted. It's more like they're questioned. Because the thing with Lebanon is that for example, Canada doesn't have to worry about an imminent war all the time,
True.
you know? So they have time to work on personal growth. Whereas countries in the Levant and North Africa, I mean, I wouldn't claim to know anything about North Africa, but in the Levant specifically, you're always scared that a religious conflict is going to erupt, which will lead to war, which will lead to anything. And there's like, I mean, in 2020, we had the biggest explosion that ever happened, which led to a terrible economic crisis. So you don't have, like, you're in constant survival mode in Lebanon. So even if you're trying to work on personal growth, you have to be like, okay, but, you know, can I afford it right now?
Yeah.
It's either personal growth or food.
Yeah.
So it's sad because even before the 2020 explosion, we had time for personal growth, but there's also imminent war. There's also random attacks. So, but yeah, sorry, I digressed a little bit from the question.
No, but I feel like this is a very interesting topic because, like you said, you are in survival mode, and I never thought about it that way because, yeah, in North Africa it's kind of different.
Yeah.
But the thing about what you said here is that I feel like also the fact that you are always in survival mode makes you more like powerful somehow.
Yeah, resilient.
Yeah, resilient because, you know, you always have something coming. And for me, like I'm thinking right now about the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
They are the most resilient and
For real.
It's hard. It's sad. It's sad because it came for a reason that is super sad. But at the same time, I feel like you have this power and we don't, you know?
Well, thank you. I mean, it's very tiring, to be honest, but it does build you, it does build up character, you know? Like something, I mean, in Lebanon, it's very often that you don't have 24-hour electricity. So sometimes like we had timings, like 2 p.m. it's gonna go, 6 p.m. it's gonna come, it's gonna come back more powerful, and then at midnight it's gonna be like less powerful electricity. So when I moved here, I waited until midnight. I was like, oh, now the power's gonna cut, and I was like, oh, you're in Canada.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I used to live in a building here on Chamede, and we used to have power cuts a lot for because it's a big building. So Hydro would like cut power a lot. And I remember being very chill. I was like, oh, power's cut. So I just went down and just to double check when it's going to come back because I was working remotely back then. And also it was a heat wave. So I was kind of like, yeah, I need my AC. It's really hot. So I just came down. I was very chill. I was like, I just came down to be like, and I was seeing people panic, like, when is the power gonna come back? And I'm like, chill.
That's so crazy. It's like it's the same for internet, like, you know what, when the Wi-Fi goes down or whatever. For us it's like so normal because we're used to it.
Exactly. So. Like it cuts down, you know, go touch the grass, man.
Go outside, do something.
Literally.
Yeah.
But it was really funny because it's because you get used to it. You're like, okay, like it's gonna come back. Like it's unfortunate, but you're kind of like genetically primed for crisis because but sometimes when things are going well, it's tiring because you're always like, okay, what's going to go wrong? What's going to go wrong? Are you primed? Absolutely. Like if something goes wrong, you're like, I knew it, let's go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, sometimes I don't want to be resilient. Sometimes I'm going to be like, things are going to be okay. I don't need to have an escape plan. I don't need to have, it's like, so it's a bit, I'm happy that I have this resilience because it makes for tougher people. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to be tough. I want to be like, give me the princess treatment a little bit.
Princess treatment, I love that. But you know, that feels like something really common in Morocco is the mental health kind of taboo. Because I feel like every time you have to be grateful. Like we grew up with this grateful kind of culture, whereas you always have to be grateful for having like a roof over your head, food on the table, and for us it's also about the religion, you know.
Oh, definitely.
And so it doesn't give much more space for people to, you know, complain or even say like, oh, I feel anxiety, depression, stuff like that. And I know that for you, it's something like very important, and you get pretty vocal about, you know, mental health. And I was wondering, how do you navigate that in your culture and in your family too?
Whoa, it's tough.
Let's unpack that.
Let's unpack, yeah, literally. Because the thing is, I very much struggle with my mental health. Especially like sometimes during January, February, I'm like, why am I in a country where there's no sun? Like, what is going on? Like, that's when the SAD really hits. Yep. Like, but it's very, because again, we go back to the concept of you're in survival mode in these countries. Mm-hmm. So you don't have time to do retrospection, to be like, okay, so how did that affect me? I see that very much in my parents' generation, because I didn't really go through a war. Mm-hmm. I was alive during the 2006 war, but I was very privileged in the fact that I didn't live in Beirut at that point. School was cut off very early on because of the bombings, and we have a house in the mountains. I live in the mountains, so okay. I didn't really hear I didn't feel I had fear, of course, because I was like, because you would hear warplanes really fly low sometimes, but I didn't really have that, because I heard bombs, but they weren't near me, unless I was at school, because my school was in Beirut. That's different. Like, we were moved from one building to another just in case a bomb would fall next to us. And the thing is, see, I very much can say this without feeling like, oh my God, because that's what I grew up with.
But that's a crazy thing to say, though.
That's the thing, because I really saw that when I came here, because in Lebanon, you speak of this very normally, like, oh yeah, you know, in 2006 when there were bombs, or like the Civil War in the 70s, where my mom spent her 15th birthday in, like we call it in Arabic, al-malja, so it's like the panic room, essentially. Okay. Wow. So she's 15 with a birthday cake in the panic room, just in case. But she was saying it like, yeah, we used to have that's where I had my 15th birthday. She was 15, you know, so it's...
What were you doing at 15 years old?
Exactly. What was I doing? You don't want to know, especially mom. So like, what was you, like, what were some people doing at 15, you know? So, and I see this very much in her generation, where it's constant, like, if I speak to her of my mental health, if I tell her like, hey, I'm a bit depressed, hey, I'm very homesick, hey, I like this, I mean, she's much more understanding now, like, kudos to mom very much. She did the work, so did my dad. But her first always like gut reaction, like if I tell her like, yeah, sometimes, you know, some people have suicidal thoughts, and I remember her saying like, who doesn't? And I'm like, Mom, no, like this is not the norm. And she's like, oh really? And I'm like, so my mom's generation didn't have time to look into their anxiety and depression and PTSD from war. Like my mom, if there's very strong lightning and thunder, she gets smaller, because she's like, oh my God, it's a bomb. And I'm like, no, Mom, no, you're fine. And I have that as well, but not as much as her. Mm-hmm. I mean, because I was there during the 2020 bombing. Now I can't really listen to fireworks. I hate fireworks.
Really?
Yeah, like it's because it's either is it fireworks, is it gunshots, is it a bomb, like and see, I say that here, they're like, oh, I understand. I say that in Lebanon, they're like, pussy. Like, you know, really? And whoa. It's funny, because when I lived there, that's how I would feel. I'm like, come on, get over it. Like, you're fine. But it's not normal.
Yeah.
It's very much not normal. So with the mental health, like, it's very hard to discuss with people from the Levant. And I'm going to speak mostly for Lebanese people, because I wouldn't dream to know what Syrians or Palestinians how they go about it. But Lebanese people, they're very much like, just get over it. Like, taqla Allah, like, just leave everything to God. Just leave everything to that. And sometimes it's beautiful, but at the same time, it's like, you know, you flinch when there's strong noises here. You flinch when you hear a plane. You flinch. If you're in another country and you hear sounds that are normal to your country, you get scared. You know why? Because it's not normal. It's not normal to be like, oh yeah, like with my morning coffee, there's an Israeli warplane. Like, it's like, so it's very, So that's that.
And would you say that this, like going through this when you grew up, helped you navigate like the Western countries? Did it give you somehow, you know, character or something more different, like something different that others doesn't have?
I don't want to toot my own horn, but yeah, a little bit, yeah, because sometimes there are things that I hear. I mean, I'm very much. I had to work on that though. But when I first moved here, and I would hear what people are complaining about, or people are protesting about, I remember having that thought process of like, get over it. You have food, you have water, you have electricity. Like, it's not that deep, you know? But at the same time, when you, like, this is something that I get from, again, like, we have you nitpick what you want from your culture, and you nitpick what you get from the cultures you experience here, which I very much am happy about, which is that, like, every person has their cross to bear. And if this is, like, you have to listen to people's feelings. Like, yeah, okay, if in the back of your mind, because people are starving in your own country, or people are very much struggling in your own country, but here, this is their struggle. Yeah. And it's okay, you know? For me personally, I kind of see it in that lens. Like, is it that deep? Or, you know, Lebanon's going through shit right now. So it did, like, growing up in Lebanon gives you character, yes, absolutely. And I'm very thankful for that. Like, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would trade less war. I would trade less conflict, you know? But we are resilient. We are very much, like, tough. But I say the problem with resilience, the problem with always living in constant survival mode and constant, you know, for lack of a better word, shitstorm. Yeah. You get used to it instead of working for better, you know?
That's like, obviously Morocco, we didn't go through as much wars as you guys, but one thing that I realized about my like own history of immigrating in Canada was the relationship with money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's crazy, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Because here in Canada, people are so, in North America, like in general, they're so after money, and because that's a like capitalistic country, 100%. Obviously. And so, you know, when you get to, I remember when I first arrived here, I was like, okay, when I get my first 40K annual salary, I will be so happy. And then it was like more and more and more. And I was,
you want more, exactly.
Yeah, and you are never happy with what you get, versus when I go back to Morocco and I'm just like sitting here with my family and just being.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yes.
I'm feel like so happy and so fulfilled.
Yeah.
And for me, that's how I consider.
That's the richness in life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. I agree 100%, because every time I go back and it's just, you know, you're just sitting there with your Arabic coffee, talking to your mom about, I don't know, like the latest gossip. Like, listen, I hate gossiping, but I also like gossiping. You know,
we all love gossiping.
Exactly. Like, oh, mom, who got married? Oh, really? Like, you know, it's gossiping with your mom is like something else.
Yeah.
And you know, it's true that, because even I find myself, like, you know, when you were talking about how you have an identity crisis when you go back to Lebanon or when you go back to Morocco, and it's the concept of you can't just be happy with the simple things. Like here, it's just the idea of, but also I will say what doesn't help is the weather condition here, because when it's sunny, I'm very happy to go with with anything, like just or alone with a book or anything, and just go in a park and sit. It's amazing, but somehow I always feel like, oh, I can't go out because I'm going to spend money, and everybody's like, you don't need to, but I'm like, I don't know why, but I find myself spending money. True. Whereas in Lebanon, if I go out, I'm like,
you just take the car and do like
exactly. You just
take the block.
You do a little cruise with your friends and it's chill. Like my mom just tells me like, oh, well, what are you going to do? Oh, like, I'm just going to go cruise with Chris or my friend or whatever. She's like, okay, have fun. Like, and here it's like, oh, we're just going to go for a cruise. Oh, where are you going? Cruise? Like, we're just driving around. And again, like, I'm not saying because there are a lot of people who live like that. But my personal experience is very much no, like there's no, like you need to have a purpose. Like my purpose is that I just want to chill, like, you know. But yeah, I guess it's very much a Mediterranean thing too, because Italians are like that. Yeah. So it's like,
I get that. And the thing that I realized the most here is that people don't, you see no one in the streets. I don't know if you, did you notice
they're
that?
just walking.
Yeah.
Like, where are you going?
That's so true, because in our countries, I guess it's the same in your home country. When you have nothing to do, you either go out or you take a chair and sit outside. Or
yes, and you play taula. It's kind of like, who cares?
True. But here it's like you always have to do something or go somewhere, or it's crazy. But the thing also that is different and that I noticed here in this country is also the freedom that I got about like owning my sexuality, I would say. Yeah. And I'm talking about this because one of the first, because she's a writer, okay? She writes articles and super good ones. And the one that really resonated with me was the one about Arab women's sexuality, because well, it's like
but people say it's not existent, but it exists.
It is. And you know what? I feel also kind of scared to even like bring up the subject, because of it's always like the Shuma culture, which is, you translate about like the shame culture, about talking about stuff like that. And I really want to ask you, what was the thing that made you want to talk about it and not being scared of talking about it?
Yeah, well, what made me want to talk about it is exactly what you said, like the culture of like Arab women have no sexuality, or are not allowed to have a sexuality. Like you're just here to please your partner, your male partner specifically, if you're heterosexual. So I very much, because I also struggled with that a lot. So when I wrote it, I think I was 23, 24. Okay. So it was a couple of years back. And because for me, I was very interested in sex from a young age. I was maybe 13, 14 when, and if anybody is into that, Wattpad was very much my
what is it? I don't know.
Wattpad is basically where people just write their stories, like regular people just write their stories. And there's a lot of erotica on there. Hey. So that was very much my, mostly fan fictions. Like, sorry.
The Twitter of 2014.
Yes, exactly. So, but Wattpad is like longer form.
Oh, okay.
You could write books in there, and it was amazing. So, and a lot of people started their writing careers on, I mean, if anybody knows After, like the movie series After by Anna Todd, she started off as a Wattpad writer, and then she I mean, listen, I have reservations about that book, because I read it when it was on Wattpad. But I mean, she started her career with that. She wrote actual books. Now it's went from Wattpad to actual physical books, and then they got made into a movie. So shout out to her. So Wattpad was my sex education, basically, because you virtually get no sex education in Arab countries. And you can't talk about it to your parents because they go like, what? Yep. And that's the thing. But I didn't really have a good sexual education, because the books I was reading, they were written by people either my age or a bit older. So there's not like, oh, you can do this, you can do that this is the sex education that you need to get, like, from a sexologist, you know? And so I didn't really, and then I got my first boyfriend. I was sexually active at 16, not with men. So there's also that. And then I had a boyfriend at 18, and that's when I had, sorry, this is going to be very like graphic.
That's okay.
My mom will not listen to that. But like any penetrative sex with a penis, that's where I was 18 when I first did it. And, but funnily enough, I didn't start masturbating until I was 21.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and that's when I broke up with my boyfriend, because in Arab culture, there's no pleasure for the woman. There's no self pleasure. Like there's no pleasure when it comes to you having sex with your man, because you're giving him that instead of you like, no, I'm giving this to myself too, you know?
Would you say that this comes from the fact that Arab women are considered to be moms, like mom
100%. Yeah. There's the concept of Arab women live to please others, specifically the men.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, I find it very funny because that's what you grow up to think. But I've met so many Arab women that are like, no, I live for me. And if you think he's the boss of the house.
But that's something that is not said out loud.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But I feel like, and tell me if it's true, and I 100% I am sure that it's the same thing in Lebanese culture, but women are in charge.
Yeah.
They are like in charge of the family, of the expenses, the business, whatever. And in the outside perspective, it's always seen like it's the man that is in charge.
Yeah.
But that's not true. That's not the case. So that's why I was wondering why in the intimacy of the couple, it's like, it's,
it's because it's weird because, and I think this is where not talking about it doesn't play a good role because, I mean, I've mentioned my mom about 100 times. My dad, I love him, but I mean, I always make the joke, and he makes the joke because my dad's in the military. He's retired now, but he always said that like the true general of the house is my wife. So, but he's very like, and everybody knows that, you know, it's kind of like, but I think because we don't talk about it enough, we have to see it to believe it. But the constant discourse is that no, the man is the head of the house, or no, the man is the one that takes care of things. Whereas because most of the time it was the woman who was at home. And that's the case in the Western world too. But in Arab culture, there's more acceptance towards like if the woman wants to be a housewife, she's allowed to. Here, it's very frowned upon. See, that's the like, that's where feminism gets like,
what is going on?
What? You know? So.
But sorry, I just have to say something here is that, you know, in Western countries, Arab women are seen as submissive.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, it always felt like, what the hell? Because we know that we are not, first of all. And the second thing that really annoys me is that we are seen as submissive and also we are over-sexualized.
Oh, yes.
And for you, what was the turning point of saying like, okay, I'm going to own it because I don't want people to
decide for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So how did you come up with that?
I mean, that's also where the article came from because I started dating people who weren't from my culture.
Okay.
And that's where I saw the fetishization. And I did like it. I was like, what? I mean, because listen, I always knew that Arab women were fetishized because of the whole belly dancing thing, because of the
You don't do belly dancing?
Yeah, like, oh, like give me the belly dance, or like, come on, shake them hips, girl. I mean, I can shake. Like I can belly dance, but it's also, for me, it was always part of the culture. It wasn't something so sexy or whatever, or like the coal lined eyes. For me, it was like, it's normal. For me, like, kohl never seemed to me something like, oh, you're overdoing your makeup.
Yep.
I don't know if it's the same for you, but for us, like in Lebanon, it's like once you put red lipstick, that's when you're all dolled up. But if you're putting kohl, oh yeah, you're just going for a run. You're going to the grocery store. So when I lined my eyes with kohl here, they were like, oh my God, you're going all out. And I'm like, eh? This is what?
That's like, so basic.
Like, exactly. Like this is the basic line here. Yeah. Literally. And so, but I really saw it with men that weren't part of my culture asking me like, oh, like calling me ba'lewa, but like the yeah, and like I've had moments like, listen, I used them to my advantage because I was like, hey, like a girl needs to scratch an itch, I'll go for it. But once I started seeing it more and more, I was like, I'm not comfortable with that, you know? Like if I'm very much leaning into my Lebanese roots and Lebanese features and my Arabic my Arabness, basically, it's for me. It's not for you. I'm not trying to make myself look exotic. I hate that word. Oh, yeah. Like, exotic should only be used for fruit. Like, I hate that word. So I remember because I'm very, very visibly Arab, even if I straighten my hair and if I do like the clean girl makeup or whatever the fuck they're calling.
That's bullshit, by the way.
Yeah, literally.
Clean makeup, what the fuck is
clean girl makeup? Black women have been doing this for ages. Indian women have been doing this for ages. Now you're gonna call it clean girl? Like, come on. So it's very much like, I always look Arab. I'm always stopped at the airport, like, So for me, it was kind of like, okay, so I'm gonna go fully with the Arab look. Like, I want to go fully, like, full makeup, and because I love makeup, I love having fun with it. I mean, I go to the office. A lot of people in where I work in the office, they're like, "Why do you? I mean, I love your makeup, like, but why are you overdoing it?" I'm like, "Or do you have a date?" I'm like, "No, I just like doing it. Like, this is what I like. This is for me." So yeah, definitely the fetishization didn't really help, because, and also, you fetishize us that we're so like, and you want, like, because heterosexual men fetishize us to sleep with us and be like, and then you have the Western feminists that are like, "Oh, we're here to save you."
Oh, wow.
And
save
like,
me from what?
Literally, like, listen, do I have social economic rights? Maybe not, but if you go to a Lebanese household, you go to a Moroccan household, you go to an Algerian household, Tunisian, anywhere, Egyptian, my God, Palestinian women, Syrian women, Jordanian women, like, they're the backbone of the family. Just look, I every time I'm like, you want to know what a Middle Eastern, North African household is like? Look at the matriarch.
Hey Habibti, if you're enjoying this episode so far, we are launching one piece of content like this a week. So don't forget to subscribe to be part of this insane community, and join us on Instagram for exclusive content.
Like, having your rights or being a feminist doesn't always equate to you being a CEO of a company.
True.
If you want to, absolutely. Feminism for me is about choice. If a woman wants to be a CEO and now have kids, go for it. If a woman wants to have 10 children, poor you. But like, if you want to have 10 kids, exactly, you want to have a village and you want to like live and be the housewife and cook all day, absolutely. You want to work in the fields with the men, do it. Because this is about choice. But you want to know what an Arab family is like? You look at the grandma, you look at the mother. So because first of all, she was never told you're oppressed, And yes, I do agree that, especially Lebanese women, there's a lot of things in the government, there's a lot of things in our laws that prevent us from having basic human rights, absolutely. But I mean, I don't know if you've seen the BBC, I think she was the BBC anchor when she was speaking to a Palestinian man and she was yelling over him, and she was like, maybe you're not used to women talking, but here in civilized countries, basically, I mean, maybe I'm putting words, but like, it was basically just saying, you come from a very oppressed country where women are oppressed. And I just looked at her and I'm like, have you met an Arab woman? We don't shut up. I am very loud. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's very much, we have this, sometimes we don't, like, not sometimes, we often don't have rights in our countries, but at the same time here, we don't, like, Western women always like, oh, I'm here to save you. Oh, like, are you okay? I'm fine.
Yeah, and that's crazy that you say that, because here, people have another definition of feminism in the sense that, if you can dress with the mini skirts, that like you're feminine.
You're free.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And when I look back at my own family and the women in my family, feminism for me is, for example, my grandma who raised her kids, like her 9 kids alone.
There you go. I got one.
Yeah, like 9 kids alone. She was providing for the entire family. I also look back at my aunt who divorced 2 times and lived by her own. Or even like my best friend who is a Syrian woman who left her country and moved to America to become a doctor.
Yeah.
For me, that speaks up more because, she had, like, they made their own choices.
Yeah.
they're made their own choices.
Yeah.
Wow, struggling here. Whereas here it's like, oh, I can go out, I can drink, I can do whatever, and this is for me what freedom feels like. But
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's another definition, but I don't know. Like, what do you
No.
think about that?
I agree with you. I mean, for me, freedom is relative to the person, you know? Like, if your freedom involves being able to walk in a mini skirt and being able to drink and party and every time, I love those things, you know? Like, absolutely. I'm very much, I feel safer partying here than feel in Lebanon because it's a very walkable city here. So, like, if I can go to metro, I can get a bus, but I don't feel safe doing it alone. That's the thing. Whereas in Lebanon, it's like there's not a lot of public transport. There's no public transport, actually. I'm being nice here. And maybe the streets don't feel safe. Like, you have to make sure there's a man with you. You have to make sure like there's a responsible man to take care of you. Which it is what it is. You know, I don't like depending on anyone, let alone a man.
Oh my God, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, but I'm kidding. Like, I don't want to go into a I hate men rant. I don't. I really don't. I have my reservations, but that's not only for Arab men. You know,
But you know, like, I have the same opinion as you in the sense that I really grew up with the idea of I want to be independent.
Yes.
Like, I want to do things on my own, not have to depend on anyone. And this summer, actually, I had a funny conversation with my cousin, my smaller cousin. Yeah. And I was like, no, but you don't understand. Like, women, they have to do everything on their own, pay their bills, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, okay, but how is that being, you know, a feminist and stuff like that? Like, you can do this and also be in a relationship with a man that respects you, takes care of you. And then I was like, oh, okay, he has a point there, you know? And I don't know if it was because of my Arabic background that I was like, oh, no, because growing up, I saw Arab women either way, you know, marrying a man and being taken care of, or the other ones that were like, no, I'm single, I'm gonna do everything on my own, and nothing in between, you know. And so for me it was like, okay, so what path should I choose? And today I feel with the upcoming generations that is kind of like changing a bit.
I appreciate that. I was gonna tell you that it's very much, I'm seeing a change now that there's more gray zone, because in our countries it's very much black or white. It's very much like you're going to get married and you're going to have a man taking care of you. You have a career, oublie ça là. Like there's no, like, the minute you're married, you're not going to have a career. Or like you're going to work maybe to help a little bit with the bills, but you don't need to. Some women like that. I've gotten to a point where I really want that. Like, I'm so tired. But I mean, of
being
course
an adult is hard.
It really is. It's like, just take care of me. Like I said, I want the princess treatment. Like, give me that. But it's something that I've also grown up, and very recently I'm quickly growing out of, because I very much identify with, like, I need to be independent. I need to not depend on anyone. And like at 22 I started making my own money, and I was telling my parents, now like I'm financially independent, I don't depend on anybody, blah blah. But I'm living in going, like, the thing is going back and forth between two cultures. You see that, like, extremism in the other, like, extremism is very toxic, you know. They, like, in certain cases you need to be black and white, but in that aspect it's like, because North America, I don't know if you feel this too, but North American culture is very individualistic. Like, you need to do everything alone. And sometimes it's like, but what's the point of having humans, you know? Because when you go to Mediterranean countries, it's very much like it's a sense of community. Like, it's not because, yes, okay, so you depend on a man for the bills, but he can't do the housework. It's the concept of housewife, of like, if the woman does the housewife, is a housewife. But now I can see, like, certain men changing, being like, no, you know, I would like, because some women are like, I hate housework. And the guy's like, I don't mind it. See, it's the sense of community. It's the change. What I'm against is assuming that these gender roles, gender roles in general, I'm very much against that. Because it's not about gender. It's about who would like to do it. You know, I love cooking. I also love writing. I hate doing dishes. So, like, Ideally, I find a person that likes to do the dishes, and I'll cook all the time. So
Yeah, but I feel
yeah.
like this is a cultural thing and a generational thing also, because as a woman, when you grow up, you're told that you need to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
That's the most annoying thing ever.
To cook for him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when did they came up with that?
I don't know. I really don't know. Why is it the woman that always has to
Yeah.
cook? I like, because I mean, I personally like cooking. I love it. It's a form of meditation for me, but my best friend hates it. You know, I've met other women who really like, I don't want to be in the kitchen. I hate doing it. And I've seen men being like, I love cooking. Like I see them go to I've grocery shopped with a friend of mine. He's a man, and he nitpicks and like smells the tomatoes, and like in a very, if he goes anywhere and like the gender roles are being typically drawn to him, and be like, oh, like a woman, like what's wrong with you? And it's like, no, it's not, because it's not a gender role. It's a person role. It's whoever feels more natural doing it, or like wants to do it, you know? So that's the thing, because I slowly started to outgrow the concept of I need to do this all alone. I want to be able to, if push comes to shove, being able to take care of myself, yes. And I hope I got to that point, you know? Like it's an ever growing, like it's something I'm constantly growing and constantly working on, to be able to be like, if push comes to shove and God forbid, like I'm all alone in this world, I can take care of myself. But you're never all alone in this world. That's the thing. And that's like the other side of like, okay, but you need people, you know, you need the community. What's like, wolves die if they're alone, you know, like it's basic biology, it's basic like animalistic thing. So,
and Lebanese people are really well known for
the community. Exactly. Listen, do I like my community? Sometimes not. Sometimes I'm kind of like, this is why I immigrated, y'all. But sometimes when I see like, but also I still have Lebanese friends, because their community, I grew up with that, you know. I still have Arab friends. Because I need to speak my mother tongue. I need to speak Arabic. I need to feel like there's a sense of community with this person. My best friend is Lebanese, and it feels very, like, she's Lebanese Canadian, but it feels very refreshing if we're in a setting and I need to say a sentence in Arabic. I just look at her and I say it. It's a sense of community of like, hey, like I can call you up and talk to you, and you can choose a community from any nationality, you know. You don't need this individualism. It's toxic, it's bad. This is how you breed machines. We're not machines. And it's like, and especially when it comes to women, because we've been because men are told that like, yeah, it's okay, you can be all tough, and you can be independent because the system is here for you. But like for some reason it's okay to depend on your wife for other like basic stuff, you know? And women are kind of like, you have to serve all the time. And it's not just an Arab women, you know? It's funny because Western women are always like, oh, women are submissive, and I'm like,
look at yourself.
You know, who introduced the idea of the nuclear family?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you go to South Asia, polyamory was always there, you know, and then colonialism, we're gonna get real deep here, like with history, like, and like colonialism just came in and be like, no, you need to have one wife, you need to have one husband, and now all of a sudden North America is like, oh, polyamory, I've discovered that. Stop Christopher Columbus stuff, you know. So it's like, I mean, certain things, yes, of course, in North America, they're developed better because you don't have this added obstacle, like in the Levant, for example, where there's imminent war. So, I mean, I digressed very much here, but it is, that's the thing. I find it very funny that it's always like the Arab woman, the Arab, like, tortured woman, submissive woman. And it's kind of like, talk to any Arab man. They're like, astaghfirullah, no, I wouldn't, you know? Like, I mean, some Arab men are very much like, no, she has to obey me. And some Arab men I've talked to, they're very much like, no, like, I know, like, my mom's my queen, like, my girlfriend's my queen. And it's like, there's a bit of everything in most cultures, but yeah, when you grow up with the idea that the perpetuated discourse of like you need to serve, you have the knee-jerk reaction of like, no, the only person I serve is me. And then you grow up and you're like, oh,
Maybe that's not true.
maybe that's not true. Maybe like I'm like maybe there's, because I've been in the West too long, I've believed in my own submission. I've believed in my own um like lack of voice. But then I keep thinking like, who silenced me?
Yeah.
You know, like in certain aspects, especially like in white feminism. I don't want to say feminism in general, like white feminism that I have been a victim of, and many women of color have been a victim of, where like we're silenced, you know, because a white woman told me I'm not saying all, again, like very much my talk is not generalizing, because I have met white women, bless their souls, best allies ever, very much like I'm giving you
Yeah.
the floor. I'm just here listening. But I'm talking about the ones who don't, the ones who are like, I know what's best for you. And it's like,
Girl, shut up.
oh, literally, like, shut up. So yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, it's
I
like-
get that. I get that a lot. And honestly, I feel like this conversation right here is a very much needed conversation for
yeah.
every growing Arab woman out there in the world. And that gets me to one of question that I
Yeah.
really wanted to ask is if you were in your parents' shoes, and you could actually decide if you wanted to, move out from
Lebanon, yeah.
Lebanon and come here, would you do it?
Uh, this is a very tough question to answer, because I'm very thankful for everything I've learned in Canada. You know, I feel like had I stayed all my life in Lebanon, I wouldn't have been able to learn it, because I wouldn't have had the experiences I had here, or met the people I met here. And thing is, ever since I was a child, I wanted to discover new cultures. I've always loved new cultures. I've always loved the idea of traveling and discovering new things. Um, I wouldn't. I would say maybe I would still do it if I were in my parents' shoes, um, because our country, as beautiful as it is a very unstable one. And I know where they came from by immigrating here. I mean, I'm alone here. Like, we tried the certain circumstances prevented us from immigrating as a full family. Me and my sister are here, but my dad's job, my mom's job, my grandmother, who's no longer with us, but back then, like, she couldn't be left alone, and my uncle lives in Dubai, so somebody had to stay with her. I would have made it maybe like, I would have seen it. Maybe have preferred for us to be a whole family here,
Yeah.
because then the sense of community would have remained more. But at the same time, my parents are pretty strict, so I kind of liked that I had freedom.
Are they though? Because I don't know.
Well, strict parents breed this.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. No. They're strict in a lot of things, and a lot of things they're very much like, we trust you. But they are very strict. My parents, like, I grew up very, like, with very strict parents. Add to that Catholic school. But I have a rebellious streak in me. Like, I like certain traditional notions, but I want to get tattooed. I want to get pierced. I want to experience sex the way I want to experience it. But the sex part took a longer time because of, like, I write about it in my piece, because of the guilt that came with it.
Yep.
Because of the guilt that my parents instilled indirectly in me, because we never spoke of sex. And whenever the sex scene would come up, I mean, all parents do that. Like, they just skip over it.
They
But
change the channel of the television.
Exactly. And then there's another channel with another sex scene.
Yeah.
Back with cable. But there was always the concept of, we don't talk about sex until you have your boyfriend. And even then, like, I will assume you're a virgin until you're married. Or, like, you're too young or whatever. So I didn't really. So sex was very much tainted with guilt, and it's still sometimes tainted. I'm 26 and it's still tainted with guilt because of like, oh my god, what have I done? Oh my god, I just moaned like crazy. What the hell? And it was but that helped the more and more I discovered self pleasure. But it's still like whenever I do something because it's sorely guided by my sexual needs, I'm kind of like, what are you doing? This is animal. This is not ladylike. This is not what women do. And it's kind of like, but why not? You know, if I'm not hurting anybody, if I'm not sleeping with a married person, if I'm not married, like, if it's just pure sex, we're both consenting, nobody outside of our bubble is getting hurt, including us. What's wrong with that? You know? So yeah, sorry, I did not answer your question, but I would go back. I would repeat the concept of, because I don't regret immigrating here. Do I regret a little bit that we're not much of a family unit here? Yes, but that's unfortunate circumstances that we didn't foresee, you know, because we were essentially going to immigrate here as a force, like all four of us. But it didn't happen. But I don't regret coming here. Because coming here also made me love my culture more. Yeah. Which is very, I don't know.
Same here. Yeah. It's really counterintuitive because it's like you appreciate things that you miss and that you no longer have, which is crazy. But yeah, I feel the same way, honestly. And I don't regret immigrating in Canada, but sometimes I feel very nostalgic.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like, I don't know if I will... I don't know if I will stay in Canada. That's the thing. Like,
the winter is hard.
Oh, 100%. Like, every time there's wind that comes on my face, I'm like, why am I here? Or like when it's spring and then it's a full snowstorm. Like, excuse me? Well, no. Like, so for me, it's very much, I don't know if I will stay here. Would I would like to come back to Lebanon? Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to visit one day.
Yeah,
I'll come with you.
Oh, come with me, and then we'll jump to Morocco. Like
yes, please do.
I've been wanting to go for ages. You know, it's every time, like when you post reels when you go home, I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful.
It is. But if you go, please don't go to Marrakesh because that's the cliche.
No.
Cliche as possible.
Like what's the least cliche? I'm not gonna ask Casablanca. Like that's hella cliche.
And no offense, but there is nothing here. I'm gonna get so much hate for saying this, but no. But
you're Moroccan. You're allowed.
I'm allowed. Yeah. No, but honestly, like, I don't know. For me, Lebanon, every time I hear people talking about this country, I feel so much nostalgia, and I also connect a lot with, you know, the when they describe the landscapes and you know, the cities and everything. I picture Morocco. Like, for me, it's like almost not the same because every country is different, but you know,
it's the same sense because, and for me, like my other, because you're telling me don't go Marrakesh or Casablanca, my side of it, as much as you can, just visit the villages in the south. Well, not now, but like the south, or like go to like help small businesses, eat as much local food, not those big restaurants, like those very fancy ones in Beirut, like, because that's not the authentic. I mean, it is the authentic food, but like any hole in the wall shop that you find, just go there, because that's where you really sense the Lebanese culture. That's where you really sense the Lebanese food, because my favorite snack places are holes in the wall. And even me as a Lebanese, like as a Lebanese person, I didn't know until like I met a person that knows them. And it's like, nah, I'm going to take you to an actual good shop. And it's like a place, I mean, now with the economic crisis, it's tough, but it's like a place where stuff were like a sandwich was like 3,000 Lebanese lira, so it's basically like $2.
Wow.
So it's like,
that's pretty cheap.
So yeah, it's really cheap.
And honestly, I love this conversation. I
know,
so much. I could talk for hours about it. But unfortunately, like the time is coming to the end, and I really have three last questions to ask you.
Yes.
So the final question, the first one is there one life lesson that you learned the hard way and that you would like to share?
I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. Western people are not as great. No, not as like, okay, no, edit that. Like it's more the concept of it's a hard lesson, but you are not inferior to your Western counterpart.
Yep.
Because that's how we grew up. We grow up thinking we're uncivilized, and we've seen with the war, when the war in Ukraine started, how much
double standards.
The double standards, being called uncivilized, like Ukrainian refugees are civilized. No, like this is not a dig at Ukrainians. Like I'm very happy people took in refugees. It's the concept of you went on live television saying these are civilized people. So Syrian refugees, Palestinian refugees, Lebanese refugees, those are uncivilized to you. So you're not denying your racism.
Yeah.
So for me, the hard lesson was people like our food, people like our music, they don't like us.
Yeah.
And again, you will find exceptions to every rule. But the rule is you're fetishized, you're not liked. You are, they like your exoticism, but the minute you defend your country, most of the time you will not be well received. And the tough lesson here is that, like, trust in your culture. Just don't trash your culture to the West, because they won't back you up.
That's such a valuable lesson, and I will add to that: stop trying to fit in so bad. Because I had the same realization that when I arrived here, I was like, oh my God, I want to fit in. I want to be like those people, blah, blah, blah. And then you realize that actually your country, your culture, everything about you as yourself is not that bad. It's actually super great.
Yeah.
And so I honestly, that resonates a lot with me because, you know, for the immigrant part, like when you look like them, it's okay.
Yeah.
But as soon as, you know, there is something divergent about that, it's like, no.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a limit there.
It's like, oh, like there's something different. Or like you're you're at a party just having fun, and they are insistent of like, what's your background? Like, I don't want to talk about that, man. like just take a body shot. Like, just leave me alone. Like, just stop asking me, oh, it's terrible what's happening out there. No.
Yeah.
Like, if I open a political conversation, it's different. Or like, if you see me in a setting where we can have a political conversation about my upbringing, absolutely. But we're at a party.
Yeah.
People are taking shots. People are in the bathroom making out. Like, why are you talking to me about this?
It's either that or, oh, you're Lebanese. I love couscous. I love
And I'm
whatever. Let me put your song for you. And I'm like,
oh, I make tabbouleh with couscous. Couscous is not in our cuisine.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I remember, like, I actually hit my friend because he said, oh, like, tabbouleh is couscous. No.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I get that.
I love couscous, but it's not a tabbouleh. Like, that's the thing.
I try to, every time someone say semoule is couscous, I want to slap them.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I don't know how you call that in English, but anyways.
Semolina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
Another question that I really want to ask you so bad is, what is that one thing that you wish you knew when you were younger?
Arabic is not a dirty language. It's very much that, because I was in Catholic school and Catholic French system, and we were not allowed to speak. It's not we were not allowed, we were frowned upon if we even spoke a word of Arabic.
Wow.
Outside of Arabic class. Like,
that's crazy.
Like, it was very much, we were talked to in French. Like, we were, even though amongst each other teachers were speaking in Arabic, but with us they were speaking in French. And I remember thinking, like, because now I'm thinking, why was I so, they speak Arabic, they're Lebanese.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's their mother tongue. So it's very much that, because we were told that Arabic is the dirty language. Like in French, they say le français c'est la langue de salon. Like it's the classy language,
Oh, really?
which could be true. I don't know. Like I love French, you know. I would have liked to be taught French and have been taught to also love my mother tongue. So younger me, very much, I want to tell her like Arabic is not a dirty language. Arabic is a beautiful language, and you should hone your craft in it. You should hone it more, because I can speak Arabic, but again, ironically, it got stronger when I moved here, you know? So,
But that's another thing that we have in common, because I was taught growing up that Arabic would be my second language,
Yeah.
which is crazy
I
because
know, right?
yeah, because the same as you, I went to a French school and we were taught like French history, French culture, French everything, and nothing about Morocco. And that was crazy because I was in Morocco at that
Yeah.
time. So
It's insane to me.
yeah, it is. It is. And anyways, we're not gonna go
Yeah,
into
we're
that.
gonna go, we can talk for hours.
But yeah, I feel the same way. And for me, today, it's a big regret that I have, because I've learned how to be a fusha, which is like the
Written Arabic, yeah.
yes. But I like today I cannot speak it because I didn't practice or anything. And for me, that's a biggest regret, because if I want to go for it, like in Lebanon, for example, I will not understand a word.
Yeah. Well, to be fair though, most Arabic dialect, we don't understand each other, you know? Like, I mean, and like the North African Arabic,
It's so different.
oof,
It is.
so different.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when I hear you speak Moroccan, like Arabic Moroccan, or I can understand if I really focus. Tunisian, I can understand. Like Tunisian is more.
It's closer to yours.
Yeah, exactly. Because also Tunisian, I add a lot of French words, so I'm like, okay, Algerian, and all my love to Algerian people, I don't understand a
Me neither.
word. I don't understand a word, and I feel so bad because I'm like, I don't want you to think that you don't make
Same.
sense. It's just that it doesn't make sense to me.
No, I get that. I dated an Algerian guy for like a long time, and
Yeah.
I couldn't understand a word.
And y'all are next to each other,
Yeah.
so that's the thing. I mean, I can understand Egyptian, but even like sometimes, because I mean, Lebanese Arabic gets mocked a lot.
True.
It's called the gay Arabic. Because
really?
Yeah, because it's like, because apparently gay is a bad thing to me. But it's because our Arabic is more like lenient. Like in Arabic we say layyin, so it's very lean. Exactly, like it's very lean. It's very, because we have Aramaic in our Arabic too.
Okay.
Because back before the Arabic Peninsula came and took over, very history. But it's we have Aramaic, we have Assyrian in our dialect. So the Arabic is not as tough. So words that have qaf in them, some areas they pronounce the qaf, but in Beirut, for example, you don't say qaf, you say like manqusha. It's written manqusha, but we say manushe.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, they always say like, oh, if a girl says speaks in Arabic, Lebanese Arabic, it's nice. It's like, it's very ladylike. But if a guy, they make fun of him. Oh my god, yeah, which is very sad, because like, dude, it's not. That's his accent. Leave him alone.
That's crazy, because for me, Lebanese people is the sexiest thing ever. Like, they're
thank
Arabic. Like, for real, I grew up with that, and
Yeah.
for me, it's for me, Moroccan Darija is cool, but it doesn't sound as cute or sexy as
Yeah,
yours.
we are like, it's the easiest. Basically, it's the easiest. It's kind of like when Latinos talk about which was the better. I wouldn't say better. There's no better in that case, but like, which is the easiest to understand? They always go for Colombian. So Lebanese Arabic is the Colombian Arabic, because it's easier to understand, and I like our dialect. One of my favorite, I do like the Palestinian dialect very much. Like when it comes to the Levant, Syrian, Damascus, very like very tough and
Super loud people, by the way.
I love them though. I love them. They like, there's beef between Syrians and Lebanese people, but I freaking love them.
Yeah, me too. I have my best friend is Syrian, so I know their culture better
Yeah.
than yours. But yeah, for me, I really like it. And that gets me to my last question. So we have a tradition in this podcast. It's that we want to share something like, do you want to share something super cool that you like about your culture, or something that, you know, nobody knows, but you want to share? So floor is yours.
Nobody knows. Well, we're pretty out there people. Everybody knows everything about us, about our business. But something very cool. I think something very cool that I like, but some people might not. It's the concept of the azima, and it's like azima is basically like you're having people over, or you're welcoming people, you're hosting people. There's not like here when you say you're going you're going somewhere, or you're gonna go meet up something, that's like, oh, you have something to do today. Whereas in Lebanon, it's like, it's very normal. Like, it's like, oh, well, we don't have anything else. Like, we're going to this person and that person and that person, and there's always coffee or tea.
Really?
My caffeine intake in Lebanon quadruples. Which is funny because here, like, people call me, oh, you drink so much water. I'm like, you have seen nothing yet. Because every time you go to, or like you're hosting people, like the scent is حط الركوة على النار, like put the rekwa on the nar, like on the fire. Like, you're gonna have coffee. There's always coffee. There's always food. There's always like my mom and my grandma. Like, this is something that's in every Lebanese household. You always have dessert. There's always there. I don't know if you have the same thing.
Yeah, we always have food or something to put in the table.
Yeah, there's no. It's if you have nothing at home, my mom stresses. She's like, no, and then she makes food. She makes like anise cake. She makes she just makes. She needs to have something.
There is, I don't know if you guys have that, but there is also always something for the guests.
Yes,
like something that you put aside.
Yes, this is something like there's a salon for a guest.
Yes.
Like you're not allowed to touch this area. Like, you can't go play in there because guests are gonna come.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane to me. Then it's just that, like, the concept, like, there's always coffee, always tea, and if you don't drink coffee, they're like,
what is wrong with you?
like, are you good? Except like during summer, if you don't want coffee, you're like, I would like a lemonade, or like jaleb, or like the raspberry, blackberry drink, sharab al-toot, which is delicious, and it's the best during.
Never tried it.
Oh, it's so good. No. Like, during summer, if I can find a way to make it here, I will have you taste it. But it's just the concept. Like, food is very much our love language, but that's something everybody knows. But it's just more the concept of the azimi. Like, you always have somebody over. Somebody's always there. And it's like, dude, I just want to sit in my pajamas. Why do I like to leave me alone? But when you immigrate, you miss that very much.
Oh my God, Youmna.
We can go on.
No, but honestly, I love this conversation so much, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for telling me to come. I love talking about this.
I know, and that's why I chose you. So thank you for being here and sharing
for having me over.
Yeah, and sharing your story with us. And thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, and subscribe for next week's episodes. See you guys.